Welcome to Daily Pulse, where we keep your finger on the pulse of the latest breaking news and the news they're keeping from you. Brought to you by the Vigilant Fox and Zeee Media. I'm your host, Maria Zeee. Tonight, what you need to know about the upcoming 2025 Bilderberg Conference. Governor Ron DeSantis gives Floridians the green light to run over protesters, and the 31 NGOs linked to the No Kings rallies across America. Let's get into the Daily Pulse. Maybe you've been living under a rock and have not heard of the Bilderberg Group. And even if you have heard of the Bilderberg Group, most people don't know much about them and what they do exactly. However, what we can tell you, on face value, is this is essentially a meeting of the minds of some of the world's most elite of the elite to get together annually, have a chat, discuss significant political, geopolitical, technological, financial, and military objectives, and it's all done in secret. This secretive group called the Bilderbergs actually has a website, and guess what? They have an FAQ page as well. On that FAQ page, there's a few key points here where they say, what criteria do I have to meet and what do I have to do to get an invitation? Oh, please note, there is no application process for joining the Bilderberg meetings. Participation is for invitees only. With such high caliber guests, why is there so little media coverage on Bilderberg? We don't seek any public attention, you see. An annual press conference on the eve of the meeting was held for several decades up until the 90s when people started reporting on it. But it was stopped due to lack of interest, they say. However, the list of participants, main topics, and the locations are always fully published. We'll go into that in a moment. Then it says, in today's information society, with so many of your participants regularly underscoring the importance of transparency in an open society, how can you justify imposing the Chatham House rule? Well, participants are, of course, free to discuss ideas expressed at the meeting in general terms, and many do so every year. However, as in many meetings across the world, participants agree not to quote each other. This is to ensure that all participants feel they can speak freely in an environment of trust. And then there's a question about why does it attract so many people criticizing it? Bilderberg meetings have often been the target of anti-globalization protests, and various conspiracy theorists have expressed wild allegations about the purpose of the gatherings. While these claims lack any and all merit, we regret to see that many continue to flourish online and in social media groups. So there was a key admission there. When these elites get together to speak freely about the ways in which the world will be steered, they're speaking about things you're not allowed to know about. They take a vow of silence. Quite cultish, actually. What happens at Bilderberg stays at Bilderberg. And of course, there are, quote, conspiracy theories that spread about Bilderberg. Let's take a look at some of the main talking points of the meeting being held there this very week. From the website directly, 71st Bilderberg meeting will be discussing transatlantic relationship, Ukraine, the US economy, Europe, Middle East, authoritarian axis, defense, innovation and resilience, AI, deterrence and national security, proliferation, geopolitics of energy and critical minerals, and depopulation and migration. So this vow of silence taking secret group has actually had Ukraine on their agenda for the past several years. And considering anyone with an ounce of common sense knows the truth about that war, aka NATO versus Russia, it does mean we need to pay attention to this shadowy group that just does seem to obsess over Ukraine for years. So who is in this year's meeting to discuss depopulation specifically, which is also just a conspiracy theory, even though it's listed on their website? Here are some of the names. From the Bilderberg website directly, in no particular order, Fareed Zakaria of CNN, Peter Teal, Mustafa Suleiman, CEO of Microsoft AI, Jason Smith, member of Congress, Eric E. Schmidt, former CEO of Google and now the CEO of Relatively Space, a rocket company, Brian Schimpf of Anduril, another big player in the military-industrial complex, very closely tied to the likes of Palantir, Samuel Paparo, Commando, US Indo-Pacific Command. Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft Corporation. John Micklethwait, Editor-in-Chief at Bloomberg. Michael Kratsios, Director, White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. Alex Karp of Palantir. Thomas L. Friedman, Foreign Affairs columnist at the New York Times. Christopher Donahue, Commander of the US Army, Europe and Africa. Jack Clark, co-founder and head of policy at Anthropic, the AI company whose AIs have been caught deceiving and blackmailing its creators. Albert Bourla of Pfizer, of course, and Applebaum of The Atlantic, which is supposed to be a hostile news agency after the Signal leak, isn't it? Jose Manuel Barroso, Chair, International Advisors at Goldman Sachs International. Borg Brendy, President of the World Economic Forum, and some other notables. Martin Lundstedt, CEO at Volvo Group. Kyriakos Mitsotakis, Prime Minister of Greece. Richard Moore, Secret Intelligence Service Chief of Great Britain, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ministers of Finance, and of course, a whole host of big bankers. Oh, and for some reason, Stacey Abrams is going to be there. She's apparently elite now and also interested in depopulation. A journalist there reporting on this shadowy group trying to expose their true agenda is Dan Dix. He reports Sweden's Grand Lodge of Freemasonry is directly adjacent to the Bilderberg Hotel. It's just a conspiracy, guys. And Dan Dix actually has managed to find and question Peter Teal, grilling him on his Palantir surveillance system and his connections to Epstein. Take a listen.
Mr. Teal, do you have any comments about Palantir's surveillance of the American people, sir? Or any of your connections to Jeffrey Epstein? I think people are rather concerned about that last particular one. You're setting up a Big Brother surveillance system, and people know it, sir. Do you think the American people want this surveillance tech being used against them? Any comments at all on the Epstein connections? You were meeting with them. People are waking up to what you're doing there, sir. That's why we're here covering this.
And no comment, just hightailing it out of there. Alex Karp, who is on the steering committee along with Peter Teal, very embedded in this current administration, has previously spoken about how he dreams of drone striking his enemies, referring to people with conflicting beliefs to his. And he's also proclaimed his commitment to, and I quote, scare our enemies and, on occasion, kill them, end quote. Not sure exactly which enemies he's referring to there, but we do know the types of things people who, by invite only, will be discussing with people like Alex Karp behind closed doors this year. Many of these topics of discussion and items on the agenda are predominantly regarding regions and sovereign nations which are not even in attendance. The authoritarian axis, for example, in their list of agenda items, is China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea generally. But they're there to discuss the whole world. The AI takeover, proliferation, likely nuclear, and depopulation. To think for a second that people of such prominence, prime ministers, CEOs of major international corporations, kings even, yes, the King of Netherlands is attending this year, prominent media figures in attendance who likely will never utter a word in their reporting about such a significant meeting, to think that they would attend meetings of this nature, discuss items on the agenda of such magnitude, all in absolute sworn secrecy, never to be discussed in public, would not be persuaded in their decisions in their positions of power, is extremely naive. It's no wonder we see things going on in the world, totally separate countries on the other side of the world to each other with totally different customs, cultures, and religions, all doing the exact same thing. Just have a look at the climate scam. Have a look at how the world tackled COVID. So all this really is a reinforcement that the secretive, shadowy cabal consisting of organizations like the Bilderberg Group, Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, and the likes are still alive and well and still meeting and still discussing world domination. and many are in very significant positions of power or close to those who are. But it's not globalism, you see, or the New World Order. That's just a conspiracy theory. To quote the late, great George Carlin, it's a big club and you ain't in it. This week is the last week to take advantage of Above Phone's deeply discounted privacy phones available exclusive to Daily Pulse viewers. Big tech companies know your data is valuable, which is why they provide us with tons of features for free. But are they truly free? Instead of paying with your money, you're paying with your data and your attention. Once your data leaves your phone, it's impossible to get it back. It goes to governments and shady organizations like the ones we were just talking about. If you're currently using a big tech phone and care about your privacy, download Above's newest ebook featuring 5 steps you can take right now to increase your privacy. Simply visit abovephone.com/pulse, click the ebook at the top of the page and register. Join the Above Phone family right now. Our sponsor Above Phone is offering a deep discount for our audience only on many of their phones now through Sunday at midnight. Find your freedom phone at abovephone.com/pulse. Choose from a top-of-the-line Pixel Pro XL or a budget-friendly 6A at only $450. That's $200 off their normal price. You can even access payment plans or pay with cryptocurrency at checkout. Above offers an incredible 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk, and every device comes with a free 45-minute support call with a real live support engineer to help you make the shift. Call 1-888-36-ABOVE Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central, or chat with the team at abovephone.com/pulse by clicking the Chat With Us button. Visit abovephone.com/pulse today. Now, I know we do a lot of very serious reporting. The issues facing the world today are extremely serious. But we thought we'd bring you a feel-good story today. Governor Ron DeSantis has declared that Floridians are now permitted to run over protesters. So seriously, that's what he said. He's not playing around. Take a listen.
And we also have a policy that if you're driving on one of those streets and a mob comes and surrounds your vehicle and threatens you, you have a right to flee for your safety. And so if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you. You don't have to sit there and just be a sitting duck and let the mob grab you out of your car and drag you through the streets. You have a right to defend yourself in Florida.
Well, that solves it. Think twice before impeding traffic. But what we see here is actually common sense. As with Governor Ron DeSantis, common sense usually does prevail, especially when it comes to the autonomy of a tax-paying citizen and the respect he gives to them regarding their rights and their safety. Look at his gun laws. Look at this new approach. It's something that many other states should take note of. We've seen countless incidents across the United States and the world of people overcoming a violent perpetrator who could literally kill them or others if they weren't stopped, and ending up in prison or facing persecution from the courts and prosecutors for simply defending themselves. There's countless examples of this, far too many to cover in one broadcast, but if you live in a place that has strong gun laws, for example, you would know nobody plays with the FAFO model. Everyone is armed, and everyone knows it, and therefore everyone continues to display a courtesy and respect for one another that was only possible in days gone by, but there are real places alive and well with people who still display those values. And they're all places that have very generous gun and self-defense laws. And guess what? Crime is lower in those areas too. We see crime skyrocketing in all of these Democrat-run states with strict gun laws and unacceptable levels of persecution for those defending themselves. So run them over, DeSantis says. Having said that, and all jokes aside, nobody wants to see people getting run over in the streets. Not even these reckless rioters. But what people do want to see even less would be, as Governor Ron DeSantis suggested, somebody being apprehended by these protesters or rioters, having their car smashed in, pulled out of their car, and then beaten to death in the streets. It's not happening in Florida. Not today, Satan. Don't let the agenda tick you off and put you into a tailspin when you can take advantage of it. There is one commodity that is needed for solar power, battery power, for electric vehicles, nuclear power, and is a vital component in so many other technologies, not to mention trade. Silver is needed for all of that, and recent developments are creating an insurmountable problem for all of these industries. Physical silver is running out. These manufacturers will pay almost any price and simply pass it on to the consumer or taxpayer. What if you were the person that owned what they will need? You can be. Call Kirk Elliott Precious Metals today to purchase physical silver. We've chosen Kirk Elliott Precious Metals as Dr. Kirk cares about you, is trustworthy, honest, and educates you before you make a purchase to make sure it's right for you. He only deals with low-cost bullion that doesn't carry high premiums, and what I love is that physical metals can even be placed in your IRA. Call him at 720-605-3900 or schedule a call online at kepm.com/pulse and get out of the system with one of the safest and most private assets in the world. That link again is kepm.com/pulse or give him a call at 720-605-3900 today. All week, No Kings has been the talk of the town. They're planning what is now well in excess of 1,000 protests this Saturday across the United States. They're well funded, well organized, and now the 31 NGOs behind them have been exposed. Zero Hedge reports the FBI is now probing these far-left NGOs funding the anti-ICE riots. FBI Director Kash Patel told Just the News the FBI is investigating any and all monetary connections responsible for these riots. This comes as a pattern of escalation is consistent with previous color revolution-style mobilizations by the Democratic Party NGO sphere. While experts note that the protest funding itself isn't illegal, the FBI is focusing on the intent behind financial support, particularly if it facilitated criminal activity. You can see here, people were seen distributing bionic shield masks that cost $30 to $50 each. It's not a grassroots protest. These masks assist rioters in fighting law enforcement and guard members. If you have to watch out for a burnt car, that isn't a peaceful protest. That isn't America. That's anarchy, acting ICE Director Todd Lyons told Fox News. You can see some of these insane images here. Among the non-profits identified as playing a key role in last week's unrest are the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights and Union del Barrio, a group seen as the Mexican version of BLM, whose manifesto openly cites Marxist and communist ideology. These groups sparked some of the first protests, which quickly morphed into unrest last week and over the weekend. As civil unrest spreads across LA, President Trump has ordered the deployment of National Guard troops and Marines to stabilize the region. But at the same time, nearly 200 NGOs linked to the Democratic Party's activist network are reportedly coordinating efforts to export the unrest to cities across the country this weekend. Data Republican, as always, coming in with the goods, just released Follow the Money Behind the No Kings rally. Data Republican has launched an interactive open source map showing how your tax dollars flow to organizations involved in the No Kings rally. Data Republican says she tracked funding from federal sources to final recipients, prioritizing direct paths, not via DAFs, whenever possible. She says important, most paths still went through donor-advised funds, or DAFs, the black box of the non-profit world. Unfortunately, it's a common and opaque funding structure that deserves scrutiny. Explore it for yourself. We're going to have a look at that in a moment. She says she's going to keep updating the database as more EINs come in. Got a group to investigate? Send it to her with an EIN. Let's shine a light on influence laundering. So here is Data Republican's data, the non-profits link to the June 14th No Kings rally. I'm just going to read some of these. You have the ACLU Foundation of Texas, Utah, Albuquerque Teachers Foundation, American Civil Liberties Union. It goes on, Bend the Arc, a Jewish Partnership, Bend the Arc Jewish Action, Black Voters Matter Fund, BVM Capacity Building Institute, Color of Change, Common Defense Civic Engagement, Fixed Democracy First Education Fund, Ground Game LA, Indivisible's on there. We already knew that from Data Republican previously. National Women's Law Center Action Fund, Peace Action Education Fund, and the list goes on. Of particular note is this graphic that Data Republican posted, very, very informative, and how these funds sort of flow. You have the high taxpayer funds alert here and where they go into, and then where they go into from there. You have Silicon Valley Community Foundation, Chinese Progressive Association, Wynwood Fund, Liberty Hill Foundation, Amalgamated Charitable Fund, Inc., then all going to this BVM Capacity Building Institute Institute, Inc. And you can see gross recipients here, over $20 million here. And going back to Data Republican's link that she's posted, when you click on See Federal Grant Flow, you can see the charity graphs. It's a multi-route system here, and we see people like the Open Society Institute, Schwab Charitable Fund, Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors, Inc. And that's just to name a few, of course. We encourage everyone to follow Data Republican's work on this. It's truly tremendous. While it's positive to see investigations and exposure of these groups by the FBI, we are faced with a conundrum: no real accountability, and as of the time of this recording, no arrests. Whilst they seem to have apprehended a delivery boy, a man accused of delivering masks to rioters in LA, the real perpetrators, as it stands, still sit behind their desks or wherever they're sitting, coordinating civil unrest. Some lawmakers warn that foreign influence and ideologically driven funding may be fueling the violence, and that protesters are being financially compensated to incite unrest. If that is indeed the case, which foreign influence, and what are we going to do about it? If a foreign country is behind orchestrating riots, chaos, and what the administration is calling an insurrection, then that's a hostile attack from a foreign nation, isn't it? And for all of those involved locally, at bare minimum, potential treason. So we'll keep you updated as more of this unfolds. Bottom line, we need mass arrests surrounding these well-funded and well-coordinated riots. Are you protected in a world where threats of EMPs, solar flares, 5G, and all types of EMF are interfering with our very existence? Escape the grid with Escape Zone, bringing you the highest quality Faraday technology for ultimate preparedness. Choose when and where your devices are detectable. Faraday bags protect you from EMPs, car theft, card and device skimming, identity theft, tracking, Bluetooth, and GPS. Choose from premium mobile Faraday bags, crossbody bags, laptop bags, and even women's handbags, or opt for the optimum protection with a ballistic backpack, combining cutting-edge Faraday technology with a ballistic 3A Kevlar for the ultimate protection and preparedness. Now you can also protect from EMF with their top-notch EMF beanies and blankets, shielding you from some of the most harmful frequencies in our environment. Whatever your needs are, Escape Zone has you covered, and their range is perfect for personal use, family use, or even as a gift for someone you truly care about. Visit escapezone.com/pulse and protect you and your loved ones today. That's escapezone.com/pulse. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. If you haven't noticed, we are committed to telling you the truth no matter what. You can catch us doing that every single weeknight at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's every weekday. Daily Pulse, where we keep your finger on the pulse of the latest breaking news and the news they're keeping from you. You can support us to stay independent by shopping directly with our sponsors who make this show possible. Their links are in the description below. You can also like, share, and give us your thoughts and comments on the broadcast. Make sure to follow Vigilant Fox on X at Vigilant Fox, as well as Substack to stay up to date with the latest breaking news. Follow Zeee Media on Rumble, where we also air this show each weekday and post our other deep dives. Follow at ZEE_media on X, and as always, all of our content is also on zeemedia.com. Join us every weeknight at 7 p.m. Eastern. Tell everyone about it, and as always, keep your finger on the pulse with the Daily Pulse. Good night.